Life Reflection, Chapter 17. So for this chapter, we're actually going to look back on the whole experience so far of doing these life reflections. I should have kind of done it in the midpoint, where it was chapter 15, but I still think it's a good idea to do so far, like to look back on the journey so far. And it has been a pretty interesting experience, to be honest. Honestly, a lot of this, I didn't expect myself to have felt the way that I felt during certain episodes, especially the beginning ones. I think for the first 5 episodes, I think I cried in 3 of them. So that was a big unexpected thing that happened. I was expecting to just talk about my story from my childhood, my family life and all that stuff. And it ended up being pretty heavy for me. But it seems like, just to recap a little bit, so episode 1 was me talking about my current state and how I got here, more like recent time stuff. Episode 2 was me talking about my childhood. 3 was specifically about the divorce. 4 was about my sort of young romance life, I suppose, before becoming an adult. And then 5 was abandonment. 6 was elementary school, then middle school, then some stuff about family. That one I ended up crying as well. And then some other things about my childhood experience and a lot of things surrounding that, family in general as well. Then high school for 2 episodes, college. Then we got into more things that we spent a lot of time on and were passionate about, like dance and piano, and then YouTube. And finally, the last episode we did our early 20s and just talking about some highlights and events from then. One thing that I immediately notice is that there's a lot more conversation and talk surrounding the earlier years in my life. For instance, just childhood and high school and before that as well. I suppose it does sort of make sense because that is kind of going from 0 to 18 in terms of age. And for talking about 20s, it was basically just one episode, or at least early 20s. So that's 5 years, more or less 4 years condensed down into one episode. So if we were to do time-wise, how that works out, it seems most of what's important, or at least things that I wanted to talk about that mattered a lot more to me, were more so in my early years. And before I was 18, I guess those are the years when things feel the strongest, because you experience a lot of first things. You have more experiences in general because there's just a lot of people in your life, a lot of interactions. And also for me, that's when there was more interactions with family and just everyone in general, I suppose. It's slowly over time, entering after college and entering my 20s, mid-20s, it became less and less, I became less and less attached to family, I guess. There was less interactions around family. I guess certain aunts and uncles that I mentioned in the earlier episodes, where I was talking about gratitude and everything and how they did a lot of things for me, and I try to see them once in a while now. For them, they got kids and everything like that, so it became much busier for them, and I didn't see them as often. Same with some of the other aunts and uncles that are older too. They also had kids at a certain point, and for me, it was definitely I enjoyed having more cousins and stuff like that, and just family. They were closer to my age, and I didn't really interact with them as much until maybe high school, around high school, I'd say. And I feel I'm pretty close with a fair amount of my cousins and just family members in general. And even my half-sister, just seeing everyone is nice, but I don't do it very often, I'd say. And to me, that's kind of a shame, because I do feel when I was younger, I spent so much more time with family, and just comparing everything I've said in every episode, it's so many of those memories and moments really, really mattered and really had a big impact in my life. And part of me thinks because I'm not spending as much time with like my family and my younger cousins and everything like that, I'm sort of missing out on some big moments that I guess like big moments that I can sort of play that role that my aunts and uncles did, my younger ones did when I was younger, when they were younger and I was also younger. It's like they were important in my life. But I suppose I'm not like completely absent, which is good. But I think if I were to count how many times I saw my half sister last year, it would just be like the amount on one hand. Like I could count it all in one hand, like maybe 4 times total. And that's very, very little in a whole year. And this definitely has been something that I've known and thought about at different points in my life, but just reflecting and remembering everything at once, or, you know, back-to-back days, it really is more pronounced and something I feel like I need to be better at and really try to change. And I think the best way, at least for me, to do that right now is simply to just set a reminder to contact and try to see friends and family. Not friends, I see friends a good amount, mostly family. Perhaps the younger ones, because I do feel like they have so much more. I don't know. It's very similar to how when I was younger, my older my aunts and uncles closer to my age made like a big impact, and like just a lot of fun memories and things that they taught me. And yeah, and I guess I want to be there for my younger cousins and my half sister and everything like that. So I'll write this reminder right now, actually. But yeah, I also wanted to just talk about like the process of doing this. I think one of the best things that's come out of this is just like a few action steps that I have put down on my reminders and calendar, like talking to my dad about like certain things that I never quite talked to him about, and giving him a chance to really, giving myself really the chance to express it, even though I know it's going to be very, very difficult. But that plus like connections with my mom and my sister, and just trying to, I guess, start opening up the doors for conversations that are tough, and like moving towards that direction. That's a big thing that's come out of this, that's like actionable. And another thing is just like, you know, viewing your life in a very, very short time period all at once is like, the feeling is very interesting. It's like something you don't really get doing anything else, I think. So it's like you're just bringing back so many memories and so many like parts of who you were, like seeing yourself and playing out so many stories, playing out so many things you've experienced. And it's like so interesting because the me back then is so different from the me now. Like it's unbelievable, in my opinion, in my head, like how different it is, really. And another thing is that it sometimes makes me sad, just remembering so many good memories that I know, like, that may not happen again. Of course, they're not going to happen again because they're unique memories, but just like stuff, the simple stuff that I even talked about in the last episode, like in my early 20s, where I hung out with certain friends and like played board games a lot with other friends, and just stuff like that, very simple stuff like that, you know, could happen again, but like if I really tried to make it happen again. But I guess the feel is not exactly the same, and I don't know. I don't know. I know that I actually remember. I actually made like a video about this a while back, talking about how like you gotta be proactive about making stuff happen in events. Like if you want, like I always think like, oh, like the past year is better. Like thinking about all the past events and how, yeah, like just thinking of it that way is not a good thing, and how like you have all the power in the world to make the next event even bigger or more interesting. And there's so many more ways to innovate, and so many more ways to like create better and fun memories. I mean, they don't have to be better. They're just like create even more fun memories, I guess. So I know that feeling isn't necessarily true. Like it's just a feeling of nostalgia, and just a feeling of like me remembering something in a fun way that was fun. And me feeling like it would be nice to be able to relive it, I suppose. But like I said, it's impossible to relive. However, there are things I can do now to sort of like, if I wanted to relive it, to at least like experience a new version of it, basically. Like hit up some of the same friends and play like a different board game or something like that. Like just do something, that's fun. And it doesn't even have to be a board game. We can like make a board game or do some experience that for sure we'll remember. But to be a bit more specific, like remembering who I was back then, I fully acknowledge that there were so many things in my life that had I been the person that I am now, I would not have made the same decisions. There was a lot of things in school, and I suppose also a lot of the romantic stuff as well, like me just being an idiot most of the time. Like I think if I could go back, like particularly for school, I would do the work, I would do the homework, I would do all that stuff, but I would try more to like make stuff happen, like make interesting stuff happen in school, like more club related things, more like participation in certain things, making more fun memories with friends, making more friends in general. Like in college, I feel like I did make friends, and we had like a fair amount of people that were in our group of friends. But compared to like high school, I feel like I only made a handful of friends in college that I kept in contact with. Like high school is probably like 10 times the amount, which is kind of insane. So yeah, that was something for sure that I felt like I kind of missed out on. But yeah, in general, I think a lot of what I said in the last episode sort of also can be applied to my life, just overall my younger years. It's like there's so much time, like if you think about it, but it's like, what are you spending that time on? And it's not like necessarily I regret, like maybe I do regret it a little bit, like having spent so much time on like playing games and like watching shows that I've completely forgotten about, like the existence of. Certainly a lot of my time as I was a kid and my teenager years could have been spent like doing something way more interesting and something way more worthwhile. That's why these days I'm like, zero entertainment, do as much as I can, live a life worth remembering, all that stuff. But had I started off that way, I think my life at this point would have been even more interesting. So yeah, I guess that's sort of the takeaway, I feel. I know that's not really being fair to my younger self. It took a lot of time and energy and just like a whole lot of failures to get to where I am now. But knowing what I know now and being capable of what I'm capable of now, it's just like, I wish I could just give that experience and wisdom to my younger self. I've always thought it'd be really fun to like relive my life with the knowledge that I have now. But when I really look back and think about all the stuff we've talked about, really a lot of it deals with people, my friends, my family, my experiences with them and my memories with them. So it makes me feel like extremely grateful for all of them, like just having been in my life, and most of my experiences with them are positive. So I think that to me is one of the best things that's happened from this, is just being able to like feel so much of what I felt back then and to get a new appreciation for my friends and family members, having been there in the past and having done what they did and just like hanging out with me, helping me out sometimes, and just a lot of stuff. So yeah, and I think from here, a lot of this will be basically just me talking about more present things. So I think it was a good sort of cutoff where the rest of the episodes will be very recent thoughts and very recent like ideas. We may have like one or two more episodes where we generally talk about like my whole life, but for the most part, from here on, it's definitely going to be a lot of recent events.